So Tubi originals are something we typically skip because they usually look like shit. But this time I was slightly interested, and these are the movies I typically watch without Kaylee, because when they're really iffy like this, I say, probably should watch this on my own. But I decided we had some time, and we could have definitely watched something else.
Definitely.
But I threw this on. Festival of the Living Dead, the Soska Sisters' new movie, a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. This one follows the lineage, the family, the granddaughter and grandson of Ben.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd be maybe great grandkids, and that movie's pretty damn old. 1968.
No, they'd be grandkids.
Grandkids?
Yeah. They'd be grandkids.
I feel like Ben was pretty young in that movie, and I mean he could have had kids.
He's like 30.
Sure as hell doesn't mention them.
Definitely not.
Like, I gotta get home to my kids.
To my wife, who's pregnant.
Right.
Which is what I assumed. It's just that she was pregnant. Not that he had them yet.
I'm going to assume this movie is not canon and he had no kids because this movie was terrible. Okay, so obviously if you know the Soska Sisters, you know them because of their film that they did called American Mary. You might have saw Rabid, the David Cronenberg remake, or See No Evil 2. But for me, they've never really lived up to their name. I thought American Mary was good. I thought it had a first 2/3 of it was really good, and then the final act wasn't. I liked Rabid okay. Stuff like that. Like, they're always just kind of like fine, but as of late, they've been making like nothing that I have any interest in seeing. They made like a WWF movie, like with, I think, the Big Show or something, and just stuff I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need to see it. But then they came back with this, and I was like, oh, all right, maybe. And it has Ashley Moore from the I Know What You Did Last Summer TV series, which we covered here on the channel. Cameron Bicondova, who I know from Gotham, where she plays Selena Kyle, and I really liked her there. So I was like, okay, they got that. It looks like they're going for more of like a fun zombie comedy in the vein of something along the lines of like Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, if they have enough fun with this, it might be entertaining.
Yeah.
So Kaylee had made mention in the beginning, there is a lot of F-bombs in the first like 5 minutes. But outside of that, as she had mentioned, the film, it genuinely did feel like a Disney film in the way that it was shot and the way the characters were acting. And you're like, what the hell? This
in
is
the opening,
weird.
Yeah. It definitely is not a Disney film. There's a good amount of gore.
Yeah, the gore looks pretty good.
And a lot of drug use, and there is like definitely bad language and everything. So it's sure R-rated, but like just the opening, like in the bedroom of Ash, like it looked like a Disney kid's bedroom, like what you would see in like a Disney movie of like, these are the cool teens, and like, I don't know. It was already a weird vibe to start out with.
So people who watch bad horror movies and bad sequels to great original franchises like Night of the Living Dead and also Return of the Living Dead might remember a fifth film in the Return of the Living Dead franchise called Rave to the Grave. And when I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, this has a lot of similarities. And while they're not exactly the same or anything, that definitely still holds true here. So what this one's about is these kids want to go to this illustrious, or I should say elusive, party. And it's like $1,000 a kid or something. This is so stupid. This festival is something that you would pay $20 to go to. There's nothing there to suggest that this would be some kind of private event for rich kids. That is really funny to me. And honestly, the whole, like, it costs so much to get in thing, that literally didn't have any purpose to be in here at all. Like, they could have just been like, because the girl can't go.
Yeah.
She's like, I have to babysit my brother, right? And they're like, we got you tickets. And she's like, oh, shit. And then the friend watches her brother for her so she can go. And it's like, you didn't have to make it $1,000 a person. Like, that's completely unnecessary, because what it does is it immediately makes the film feel ridiculous, because when they get there and the festival is so basic and everyone's driving like Honda Civics and Ford Explorers, and you're like, okay, these would all be like rich kids, and they do try to play the kids off that she's going with like they're the rich kids, and
Absolutely.
They're driving like a BMW or a Mercedes, can't remember which one. It was a high-end vehicle. And they were acting like snobby douchebags and whatnot. So that, to me, is just a silly thing to throw in here, the price tag of it. Mm-hmm. Putting all that aside. So they go to this thing, and a zombie outbreak happens while there's a rave festival, Burning Man of sorts going on. The movie's just fucking silly as hell, and you hate almost everyone in the movie.
Yes.
They are so unlikable.
It's so, like, insufferable, too.
And they're purposefully...
They are.
Insufferable.
Yeah.
So you have your main characters. Cameron, the girl who plays Selena Kyle. She's, like, punk rock chick, and she has her friend who's, like, in love with her, and he's in a wheelchair. They were fine. I liked them.
They're fine.
They were totally fine, and they were supposed to be. Then the friend, played by Ashley Moore, the main character, she is dating this jock guy to be cool, and of course it's the whole like, you sold us out so you could be cool kind of thing. And he and his buddy are definitely some of the characters I wanted to break in half the most in a film that I've watched recently.
Sure.
I know that's what they were going for, but there's some, I don't know, somehow there's a way, and maybe if the film was better, I wouldn't be as annoyed. But like, somehow movies where they have the douchebags you want to die, they're tolerable in a way of like, I just hate them. I don't actually hate them. I don't know if that makes sense, but like when I'm watching this, I think it is because I really, really don't like the film. And I really don't like anything that's going on. Maybe they're just too insufferable because all the rest of the film is pretty much insufferable. But somehow great movies make guys like this somehow tolerable, because you are going to eventually get to watch them die, and like there's a catharsis to it. And I don't know. In this, I just couldn't take it.
I know. I couldn't either. I was really fed up with like every line out of a couple of characters' mouths, and I didn't have a good time watching the film. Like, there was definitely some things that we were like laughing at, because it is going for kind of a horror comedy, even though comedy is like not at all in the genre description. But I can't imagine that it's not supposed to be satirical, because there's like a lot of jokes around like influencers, especially for Gen Z, like filming stuff that you would never in a million years be filming, and that kind of thing. And it was funny, but I was just like, it sucks though too. Like, I kind of hate it. I kind of hate it really a lot. And the other thing too is I didn't like the zombies in this. I thought that their makeup was kind of all over the place. Like, some of them looked like vampires from Buffy. Some of them had different makeup on them. Like, they didn't look like the same. Not that I want them to all, look like identical, but like zombie outbreaks, like the virus affects the body the same way most of the time, and what differentiates the zombies is the wounds that they have. Like, so if their heads are cracked open or their arms are missing or whatever, like, that's fine. But I think that their face makeup was all over the place, and the gore is fine. Like, it's typical zombie gore that we get. It wasn't anything that was like spectacular for me. There was one scene where somebody's face gets ripped off, which I liked, but it definitely looks a bit campy though too, which I'm fine with.
The film's supposed to be campy.
But I also don't like the movement of the zombies, because I feel like that's the other thing, is that typically, you know, especially like something Night of the Living Dead, they're all like walking slowly towards you. And this one, it's a mix of people running and some people shuffling and like walking and ambling around. And I don't like that either. I like that the fear of zombies for me is part of it being like a mob mentality of like they're all moving the same way, they're all like rage zombies, and they're like sprinting at you or running at you or, you know, whatever it might be. That adds to the horror, and that wasn't in this, so I just feel like it just didn't work for me. It just really didn't work for me.
The zombies are handled so poorly in this movie. There is absolutely no consistency to them, and there are, you know, I've watched a lot of martial arts films throughout my life, and it's something that you just come to expect and understand when you watch those, that like when a guy goes up against 50 dudes himself, you always have to ignore that everyone's kind of like standing around going like this, waiting their turn to run in. And it's like, if you all just run in at the same time, it'd be over. This fight would be done in 2 seconds. And that's just something you accept watching fight movies. You have to be like, well, they all just honor that he's only going to fight 1 or 2 at a time.
Sure. And like they want to be the one to take him down. So it's like they're giving each other the chance.
Sure. I mean, that's the headcanon you have to come up with. Because there's no guy can take on 50 dudes unless he's supernatural, right?
But with zombies.
We have, exactly. With this, there is no headcanon. No. And there's so many scenes where the zombies just decide. Because, okay, this could be a spoiler. I won't make it spoilery. Not that you should watch this movie. So fucking spoilers shouldn't be a problem. But regardless, I won't. There's a scene where 2 characters are having an emotional moment. And it is one of the worst emotional moments ever, because they did not set this up to be emotional. In fact, they did the exact opposite.
Yeah.
These 2 characters should not have any emotions left between them. They should fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
Well, one's dead. And a zombie. But regardless, what I'm saying is this person, the human, should not want anything to do with this person at all anymore. So they're having this big emotional moment, which they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And she was getting chased by zombies. And then as soon as she sees them, and they're supposed to have their big moment, which you're rolling your eyes at, and you're like, dude, no. The zombies are just kind of like, okay, we'll give you guys a moment. You guys are good, right? Okay, sorry. Well, private time, cool. And they just all kind of like stumble around behind them, and then they kind of turn around and walk away. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And this happens a lot. Yes. This happens a lot where there's like 2 people running this way, and then another person over here that's supposed to kind of be distracting them, sort of. But then they like go over here and start getting some zombies to start coming towards them. But then the other ones just like run right past the other zombies who are standing right there, and they just ignore them outright.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is not how any of this works. And I know the movie's supposed to be playful.
Yeah.
I know it's supposed to be satirical, as you said, and silly. But it actually, I think what upsets me about this movie the most is that you are taking a like insanely classic, iconic film like Night of the Living Dead, because it is public domain.
Yeah.
And you know, you just want to make a quick buck, and you're like, I'm going to connect it to the Night of the Living Dead film by making this like the lineage of it. But then making it literally nothing like Night of the Living Dead. You're making a sequel to a classic film, and then making it some wannabe Scout's Guide versus the Zombie Apocalypse, and you know, to the Zombie Apocalypse. I knew I was just saying it wrong. And making it super like slapsticky and goofy, and throwing in all this like social commentary and jokes towards Gen Z, and it's like, no, but this is a sequel to Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
Do you know what other movies are sequels to the Night of the Living Dead? Dawn of the Dead, which is sillier.
Yeah.
Not this.
Right.
This is ridiculously silly. Day of the Dead. Like when I think of this having taken place in the same universe as fucking Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
To watching this and that back to back, if that doesn't throw you for a loop and make you want to burn this film to the ground.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the commentary, I think that zombie films often do have commentary on society. It's just like a lot of horror movies, but Night of the Living Dead is like famous for that, right? For being compared to, consumerism and all this stuff, right? And as you said, it is a classic. So making a film like this that's like set in the same universe, it's almost offensive. Like, yes. It's just kind of like Night of the Living Dead is such a hugely important film to not only the horror genre, but to cinema, like as a whole, and to pop culture and to so many things. And it's just, I don't know. I really just feel like this was made in poor taste. I think you could make a fun, silly, ridiculous zombie movie and you don't need to connect it to Night of the Living Dead. I feel like it's kind of pointless for that to be connected to this film. I don't feel like it's utilized.
Absolutely.
Well.
And you could have just made it that what they're going to do is they're going to go to some midnight screening of Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Right? Or a festival where they're showing it outdoors and everyone's going to be dressed like a zombie and they're going to be this big party and she's like a big horror fan and she wants to go. And then like Night of the Living Dead basically breaks out while they're there.
Yeah.
So it's like not in universe, but it is connected through title and premise.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a better way to do it. But to set it in the same universe and literally make this kid, like grandkids of the main character who's supposed to be a symbol, for like black suffrage and police violence and brutality.
Yeah.
To make this goofy ass shitty fucking movie and attach it to the legacy of George A. Romero's fucking classic films, it's in poor taste. And
what I'll say too is that it's because the contents of this movie, like what the characters are going through, is so trivial. It's so like teen drama stuff that's happening, whereas in Night of the Living Dead, it's a lot more about like survival and like how people act under pressure.
Yeah.
And in this one, like you do get like, oh, like the word, but like it doesn't really do the same thing at all, because like the shitty people are still just as shitty whenever there's like crazy stuff happening. Like it doesn't.
There's no character growth.
There's no character growth. There's no like oh, that person was pretending to be a good person, but really like they don't care about anyone. Like none of that happens, and all the arguments that are going on like are, as I said, just so trivial and so stupid. Like I did not care about it. I really felt like I was watching a shitty teen drama for most of the film.
Yeah, this one's terrible. It tries to be like punk rock. It's not at all. It really just kind of fails on every level, and that's a bummer. I was hoping the Soska Sisters could pull off something here, but I've lost complete faith in them as filmmakers. Honestly, I've never really been a huge fan of them. But I know that they have a fan base and people do enjoy them. But fuck, man, they're not doing it for me. So yeah, that's it. Anyway, this is a film that I could do like a spoiler discussion on, but I don't want to waste another minute. Right? Like there's 100 fucking moments in this movie that I could point out that were so stupid that made me roll my eyes. There was one really good, hilarious, badass moment that happens with the kid.
Yes.
And I was like,
that's probably the best part of the
best
film.
Thing in this whole movie.
Yeah.
And
But there's a lot of like very convenient things happening that you're just like, wait, what? Like, why do they have that weapon?
Oh my God.
How did they bring that weapon?
Yeah. The gun.
So many things like that.
Oh my God. The gun scene in the kitchen
made
me want to kill people. It was, oh my God. Anyway. I really, really, this one was frustrating as all hell. Anyway. I keep being like, I gotta be done. and I need to be.
Yeah, we're done.
I have so many more things I could say, honestly, but I'm done with this film. Not a recommendation.
Definitely not.
Tubi have only ever made one good original that I'm aware of off the top of my head, which is awesome, which is Where the Devil Roams.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we love that.
Wow,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, by the Addams Family.
Yeah, I for some reason didn't even realize that it was Tubi, but
yeah. It was a Tubi original.
That one's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The Addams Family is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Tubi, we love Tubi. We watch Tubi. We use Tubi a lot because there's, like, everything is on Tubi. You can find so many things, but...
but their originals suck.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, guys, we're done.
Bye.